a kingdom, a nation, a house, a people, a civilization divided against itself come to ruin. Therefore, it is believed, and I say, that we are always better together than divided. Together, we can achieve what one cannot achieve. For the Holy Scriptures declare that one shall put 1,000 to flight, and two shall put 10,000 to flight. If one can put 1,000 to flight, then it is believed that two, therefore, is supposed to put 2,000 to flight if we are looking at addition. But God said, if I find synergy, unity, togetherness, instead of addition, I'll give you multiplication. And instead of two putting 2,000 to flight, I will give you the capability to put 10,000 to flight instead of putting 2,000 to flight. And therefore, I would like to leave you with these thoughts. Few principles. Number one principles: righteousness, doing things the right way. Love for country. President Kufuor said the other day that the problem of Africa is not corruption, but the problem of Africa is the love of country, is the lack of love for country. For you don't take advantage and destroy what you love. And therefore, if we will begin to love country, our people and citizens like never before, Africa will rise to its potential and make all the difference we can make. President Mandela said the other day, it sounds impossible until it is done. Then he said, and I quote, the other day, it is never too late to do the right thing. I believe that it is never too late for these from all over the continent of Africa. There is no reason why our continent cannot achieve its goals. We are the most richest continent in minerals all across the nations of the world. But nations don't become great or mighty through military strength or power, through its gold, diamonds, oil, or mineral resources, but they become strong, prosperous by fulfilling and following deliberately the principles of doing right by country and by citizen. Righteousness, doing things the right way. Vision, having clarity, a sense of direction. Sovereign nations must know who they are, and where they are going. And it is vision that tells sovereign nations who we are, where we are going, and what we want to achieve as a people, a civilization, or a nation. Love for country is required. It's a necessary ingredient that irrespective of our resources, our gold, our oil, and our minerals, if we fail to love country, we will achieve nothing. Visionary leadership, leaders who have a dream and a vision, like Dr. Kwame Nkrumah said in his days, that the independence and freedom of the nation of Ghana is meaningless until it is connected to the total freedom of the continent of Africa. Our independence will be meaningless. It stands to reason, as it is said, that together we are better than when we are divided. If we as a people today, in our deliberations, we realize our need of one another, that together we are better than when we are alone. And everything that divides us is an enemy to our progress. Anything that sets us apart from each other. No one nation political party's manifesto can develop and prosper a nation. As much as manifestos of political parties are good, the enemy of better is good. And we need to go past good to the place of having what is better for the good of our society, our people, our community, and generations that are yet unborn. In conclusion, I say that I have a dream. I have a dream that in my lifetime, Africa will be so developed by principles that works for us, not by principles that works for others, but by principles that works for us as we look at our culture and as individual sovereign countries, that no son and no daughter of the continent of Africa will queue for visas to go to any other nations for greener pastures. But our sons and our daughters will work and labor in our own land and our countries and achieve their dreams and goals, fulfill their desires and destiny, succeed and prosper within their own countries and their own borders, and not go to any other country to seek greener pastures. I have a dream that our young men and women will not be scattered across the nations of our world, but Africa will rise to the occasion to fulfill its God-given destiny and mandate. This is a dream I look forward to see, praying for Mr. Speaker, all the speakers of the various parliaments that have gathered here, and the honorable members of the different parliaments, that you will be empowered with divine capabilities and the inspiration to fulfill the dream, the goals, the desires of the citizens for which you were given the mandate to sit in this august office of parliament. Shall we pray? Shall we stand? Our Heavenly Father, in conclusion, we pray that everything that is said and done here will fulfill purpose and destiny for all the citizens of the various communities we all represent as members of this great house. Let history be made, and decades from today, let the changes that will take place here and will be effected in all the continents of Africa be on record, that once upon a time we did gather here in the nation of Ghana. The deliberations, choices, and decisions that were taken and executed was part of the reason for the great changes we see all across the continent. May God bless Africa. May Africa thrive and flourish. And may we see the dreams and the desires and the expectation of the youth and of generations to come fulfilled in our lifetime. This we pray and ask for with thanksgiving. Amen.
Indeed, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, after many years of emceeing programs, today indeed I have a reason to say, shall we give the pastor a round of applause instead of an amen? He is not called a papa and celebrated for the immense leadership and mentorship that he makes in the impact of many in Ghana for nothing. He is indeed the founder of the Christian Action Faith Ministries, a renowned spiritual leader in the globe, and a voice that has inspired many nations. Please indulge me. Let's give our Papa another round of applause. My name is Al-Hassan Suhini, and it is my pleasure now to invite the second Deputy Speaker of Ghana's Parliament. He is serving as second Deputy Speaker the second time. The first time he was an independent member of Parliament for the Fomina constituency. Now he is a member of the opposition, but serving as Deputy Speaker of Ghana's Parliament. He is a lawyer and a very, very good friend to all his colleagues and people in politics general. My pleasure now, ladies and gentlemen, to invite Honorable Andrew Asiama Amwako. Please, a round of applause for him.
The right honorable speakers and deputy speakers of Parliament, honorable Chief of Staff at the Office of the President, representative of the Council of State, honorable members of Parliament, distinguished representatives of African legislatures, traditional and religious leaders, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It is with profound pride and deep respect that I welcome you all to Accra for the 4th Africa Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty and Values. On behalf of the Right Honorable Alban Sumana Kingsford Babin, Speaker of Parliament of Ghana, the Planning Committee, and the Ghanaian people, I extend our warmest hospitality to all delegates and esteemed guests gathered for this all-important continental summit. To our brothers and sisters who have traveled from across Africa and beyond, we say Akwaba. Welcome to Ghana, the physical and symbolic center of the world, where the Greenwich Meridian meets the equator. From this unique crossroads, we proudly host you for a defining conversation that speaks directly to the hearts of our shared identity, enduring values, and collective sovereignty. On behalf of the Right Honorable Speaker and the Organizing Committee, I sincerely apologize for the rescheduling of the 4th Africa Inter-Parliamentary Conference on Family, Sovereignty and Values, which was originally communicated to you to have taken place from 27th to 30th May 2026 to the current date, which is from today to 6th June 2026 due to the observance of the Eddie Ada. We also apologize for the technical challenges encountered with the conference website, which necessitated the temporary suspension of online registration to ensure a smooth registration process. The committee regrets any inconvenience caused and appreciates your understanding, patience, and cooperation. The theme for this year's conference, and I quote, consolidating parliamentary consensus, advancing the African Charter on Family, Sovereignty and Values, unquote, captures the urgency and gravity of our shared mission. It serves as a clarion call that the time has come to transition from discussion to consolidation, from shared concern to unified commitment, and from broad principles to concrete Africa framework capable of guiding policy and legislation. We are not beginning this journey today. Rather, we are building upon a formidable foundation laid over the past 3 years. The inaugural conference, held in Entebbe, Uganda in 2023, focused on protecting African culture and family values. The second edition, also hosted by Uganda, in 2024, deepened inter-parliamentary collaboration on these vital issues. The third conference, which was again hosted by Uganda in 2025, advanced our efforts under the theme, and I quote, towards an African Charter and family values and sovereignty, unquote. Those rich deliberations culminated in a draft charter, provided a robust intellectual, cultural, and legislative baseline for coordinated African response to the emerging pressures on our family systems and national integrity. Today, Ghana is profoundly honored to receive the baton. We gather in Accra not to repeat what has already been established, but to refine, validate, and elevate the work. This fourth conference will consolidate crucial inputs from national parliaments, civil society, faith-based organizations, think tanks, and traditional authorities as Africa takes a decisive steps towards adopting a charter that genuinely reflects our shared responsibilities. Distinguished guests, the family remains the primary institution in our society. Before the school is built, there is the home. Before the state emerges, the family exists. Before formal laws are written, foundational values are instilled through care, discipline, respect, responsibility, and community. When the family is resilient, society thrives. When the family is weakened, the fractures are felt across our educational systems, governance, public morality, social stability, and this is precisely why our deliberations are so urgent. Africa is evolving at an unprecedented pace. Technology, migration, economic pressures, global policy debates, and digital platforms are fundamentally reshaping how young people perceive themselves, their families, and their societies. We cannot pretend these sweeping changes do not exist in their societies. However, we must absolutely not allow Africa's future to be dictated without Africa-defined voice. As our founding president, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah reminded us, and I quote, "It is clear that we must find an African solution to our problems, and that this can only be found in African unity," unquote. That statement speaks directly to the animating spirit of this conference. The complex issues before us cannot be resolved by a single nation. They demand steadfast cooperation among parliaments, governments, traditional leaders, faith communities, educators, and civil society. Furthermore, the former president and revered statesman of Tanzania, His Excellency Julius Nyerere, delivered a timeless charge at Ghana's 40th independence anniversary in March 1997. He declared, and I quote, "My plea to the new generation of African leaders and African people, work for unity with the firm conviction that without unity, there is no future for Africa," unquote. As he further observed, on that historic occasion, unity makes it profoundly difficult for Africa and African people to be disregarded or humiliated. These timeless words remind us that sovereignty extends beyond territorial borders. It encompasses the unyielding right of the people to define their own values, protect their indigenous institutions, and participate in global affairs with unwavering dignity. Honorable members, as parliamentarians, we bear a sacred responsibility. Parliament is a crucible where voice of the people is transformed into the law of the land. It is where national values are debated, safeguarded, and renewed. If the family is the bedrock of society, our legislation must fortify that foundation. If culture carries the soul and memory of people, our policies must never be blind to the culture. If sovereignty is to be meaningful, African nations must deliberate freely and act confidently in defense of their societies. This conference, therefore, challenges us to think deeply and act responsibly. Our agenda features robust discussions on African family systems, cultural preservation, value-based education, youth development, marriage, technology, artificial intelligence, digital governance, and the strategic enforcement of the proposed charter. These are not isolated topics. They are inextricably linked to Africa's very survival and prosperity. To the students and young people present, I say this with absolute conviction. You are not mere spectators in this dialogue. You are central to it. Nelson Mandela once said, "Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world." Yet true education must do more than issuing certificates. It must forge character, courage, wisdom, innovation, and a spirit of service. Africa needs young people who are globally competent, yet fiercely culturally grounded. We need students who can master science, technology, entrepreneurship, and governance, whilst remaining firmly anchored in dignity, discipline, and service to their communities. The future will not be built by those who merely inherit values, but by those who understand, live, and leverage them to elevate society. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let this Accra conference be remembered as a gathering of profound purpose. Let it be the definitive moment when Africa moves closer to giving institutional expression to its sovereign aspirations. Let it be remembered not merely for the eloquence of the speeches, but for the consensus built, the partnership strengthened, and the commitment forged. I commend the visionary founding members of this initiative, our esteemed colleagues from Uganda, who said the first 3 editions, all participating parliaments, and every partner who has contributed to this journey. I also express my deepest appreciation to the planning committee, our technical teams, protocol officers, and everyone who has worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make this historic summit possible. As chairperson of the planning committee, I formally invite all participants to engage actively, speak frankly, listen respectfully, and work constructively. May our deliberations be thoughtful. May our decisions be collegious. May our unity be permanently strengthened. And may this conference advance an African charter that protects our family, defends our sovereignty, and inspires generations yet unborn. Once again, I welcome you warmly to Accra. I thank you for your attention.
Shall we give the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament of Ghana and Chair of the Planning Committee, Honorable Andrew Samuako Esiama, another round of applause, please. It is time to take solidarity messages. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have a number lined up. I therefore will wish to at this point invite the Speaker of the Parliament of Morocco, Honorable Mohamed Gat, to share a solidarity message with us. Please let's keep it going whilst he takes the podium. Thank you very much.
Excellences, Monsieur le Président de l'Assemblée du Ghana et chers amis, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les Présidents, honorables parlementaires et chers collègues, permettez-moi tout d'abord d'exprimer ma profonde gratitude aux autorités de la République du Ghana, ainsi qu'aux organisateurs de cet important sommet, pour leur accueil chaleureux et les conditions remarquables offertes à la réussite de nos travaux. Nous nous réunissons aujourd'hui à Accra autour d'un sujet qui touche au cœur même de nos sociétés et de notre avenir collectif. Au-delà de la diversité de nos langues, de nos cultures, de nos traditions et de nos systèmes juridiques, une certitude nous rassemble, c'est la famille. Et oui, la famille demeure le premier espace de transmission des valeurs, le fondement de la solidarité sociale et le socle, comme a dit mon collègue, de la stabilité de nos nations. À travers elle, se transmettent l'identité, la responsabilité, le respect, l'éducation et le sentiment d'appartenance à une communauté.
To a community with a destiny. We are facing a quick change. Protecting the family will not be a thing of the past.
Il constitue au contraire un enjeu.
It rather constitutes a stake for the future. We cannot talk about sustainable development without social cohesion. We cannot talk about political stability without balance. Or we cannot have economic development without really mobilizing our human capital. Africa is at a crossroad, a decisive moment in history. The continent, it's true that we have a high demographic, but we also face a good urbanization. But we have a more and more affirmed development. These are immense opportunities we can tap in. However, it comes with a collective responsibility.
Celle de préserver nos repères,
that of preserving,
de protéger nos valeurs et de renforcer
and protecting
les
our values,
institutions
strengthening our institutions, and that actually makes sure that our society remain cohesion. And of course, the main institution to do that is the family.
Aujourd'hui,
the challenge today is not to choose between modernization and identity.
Le véritable défi consiste
The main
à
challenge
construire une modernité africaine
to
fidèle
establish an
à
African
nos réalités,
modernization that reflects our heritage, modernization that looks
C'est dans
like
cette
us.
recherche permanente d'équilibre
So it is in this constant search for equilibrium or balance
l'expérience du
that
royaume du Maroc.
we have to share with you the experience of the Kingdom of Morocco. The Kingdom of Morocco today has actually set up a lot of reform to promote family cohesion and also to sustain the family institution
Respect des
within
constantes nationales
a
et
strict
aussi
respect
de
of
ses engagements internationaux.
international
La réforme
engagement.
du code de la famille, il faut le reconnaître,
The reform
difficile,
of the family code,
très difficile.
I must acknowledge it, is challenging, very challenging.
Cette volonté constante
But this only shows
d'adapter
the
notre
constant
cadre
will
juridique
to
aux
adapt our
évolutions
legal
de la
framework
société,
to
tout en
the
préservant
evolvement
les
within
fondements
society
qui garantissent
while
sa
preserving
cohésion
the
et sa
foundations and guaranteeing
collègues,
its cohesion. Dear colleagues,
La charte africaine des valeurs familiales et de la
African
souveraineté
Charter on
représente
family
bien
values and
plus
sovereignty is much
qu'un
more
document
than
de référence.
a reference
Elle
document.
traduit l'ambition d'une
It
Afrique
translates the ambition
qui
of
réfléchit
an
par elle-même,
Africa that
qui
thinks
affirme ses choix
by itself,
et qui construit ses
affirms
réponses
its
à
choices,
partir
and
de
also
ses propres réalités.
provides its own solution to its reality.
Notre responsabilité en tant que parlementaires,
Our responsibility as
d'accompagner
a
cette ambition.
parliamentarian is to help
nous avons le devoir
that ambition to see the
de
day of light,
transformer les principes
It is our duty
obtenus en politique publique,
to
comme a dit mes
translate
collègues.
this principle into political
Les
pillars, just
engagements
as
que
my
nous
colleague
allons
said.
tenir aujourd'hui en
The
réforme
commitment
concrète
that we have today
et
will
les
have to
aspirations
speak
de nos peuples
to
en
concrete reform
résultats tangibles.
and also
C'est un
give
devoir
us tangible
et une
results.
responsabilité.
This is a task and a responsibility at the same time.
L'Afrique n'est pas un simple espace d'application.
Africa
de
is not
modèles
just a place where we have to
Rien
apply
ne doit être
systems that were
L'Afrique
taught
est un
elsewhere.
continent porteur
No, Africa
d'une histoire,
is a
d'une vision,
continent that
d'une
bears a
contribution
history,
singulière
that has a vision, that has a
au
singular
débat
contribution
mondial.
to
Et
the
on doit en être
world
fier.
debate, and we should be proud of that.
Notre responsabilité collective
Our collective
est de faire
responsibility
entendre cette voix
is
avec
to make
confiance,
sure that that voice is
sérénité et
heard
aussi avec
through
responsabilité.
serenity and also through our shared
C'est
responsibility.
dans cet esprit que le
So
royaume
it
du
is
Maroc
within this
réaffirme aujourd'hui
that the Kingdom of
devant
Morocco
vous son
hereby
engagement
reaffirms
constant
its
en
commitment,
faveur d'une
constant
Afrique
commitment
forte,
towards
souveraine,
a
solidaire et
strong,
maîtresse
sovereign
de son
Africa
destin. Chers collègues,
that holds its own
l'Afrique
destiny
n'a
in
pas
its hand.
vocation à choisir entre la modernité
Dear colleague, as I said, Africa does not have to choose between its identity and modernization.
a démontré au monde
Africa
que les deux
must show
peuvent
the world that both can go together,
et on en est capable.
and we are capable of doing that.
Chers collègues,
Dear
Excellences,
colleagues,
je
Excellencies,
forme le vœu que nos travaux à Accra contribuent
I hope that
à
our
renforcer notre coopération
deliberations in Accra
parlementaire
will
et à
contribute
faire
to strengthen
émerger
our parliamentary
une
collaboration
vision
and also
africaine
bring us
partagée.
to
Ensemble,
give life to a
faisons de
shared
cette
vision,
charte
shared African
un
vision.
instrument
Together,
d'unité,
let's make
de
this
confiance
charter
et
an
d'espérance
instrument of unity,
les générations
trust
africaines présentes
for the
et futures.
present African
Et
generation
j'espère
and the future
la
ones.
conférence
And I hope that
d'Accra
the
soit
Accra
une
conference
conférence décisionnelle. Je vous
remains
remercie.
a decisional one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please let's give it up one more time for the Speaker of the Parliament of Morocco, Honorable Mohamed Giat, passionately calling upon all of us to adopt this charter and to make the African dream a reality. I know many Ghanaian adults like myself in times like this regret skipping our French classes when we were in school. But merci beaucoup, nonetheless. We move on now to the Kingdom of Eswatini to take a solidarity message from Honorable Lindiwe Gwebu Dlamini, who is the President of the Senate of the Kingdom of Eswatini. Please, a round of applause for her.
The representative of His Excellency, the Right Honorable President of the Republic of Ghana, the Right Honorable Speaker of the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, the Honorable Alban Bagbin, the honorable founding members of the African Inter-Parliamentary Conference, the conference chairperson, honorable members of parliament from all nations represented in this august conference, representatives of partner organizations and friends to the African family, religious leaders, allow me to acknowledge His Eminence, the Archbishop Duncan Williams. I bring warm greetings and solidarity from His Majesty King Mswati III, the government of Eswatini and the parliament, including the people of the Kingdom of Eswatini. On behalf of my delegation, I'd like to extend our appreciation for the warm hospitality we've received since our arrival to this vibrant city where modern energy meets a rich culture. We thank the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Allow me to specifically thank His Excellency, the President, because without his blessing, we would not have been able to convene in this manner. I therefore thank the organizing team that has put this conference together. Please permit me to also honor His Excellency President Yoweri Museveni, President of the Republic of Uganda, who has successfully hosted this conference for the past 3 years. This work has been started on a foundation of unity, true equality and respect across our nations, bolstered by the core values we share, enriched by our diverse cultural identities. This is what we stand for as Africans. It is wonderful that this conference is happening shortly after the continental commemoration of Africa Month, while the hearts and minds of many on the African continent are still reflecting on what sets us apart as Africans. I extend our deepest gratitude to the OACPS, EU Joint Parliamentary Assembly, for the confidence placed in the Kingdom of Eswatini to host this conference. I also want to thank all parliaments that sent their members to come to the Kingdom. Africa must never forget that our continent is truly favored by God. Africa is rich in natural resources, holding over 30% of the world's known mineral reserves, along with major deposits of oil, natural gas, and 60% of the world's uncultivated arable land. The United Nations Environmental Programme acknowledges that the continent is critical to global modern technology, holding 50% of the world's cobalt needed for EV batteries and 40% of its gold. It has also the largest reserves of diamond and uranium, yet Africans remain economically disadvantaged due to exploitative contracts, foreign control, and lack of value addition. We recognize that we live in a global community and international cooperation is critical. However, this must not be at the expense of our sovereignty. Dignity and development priorities should also be considered. To protect our God-given heritage, we must stand in solidarity as African leaders and nations. My own country, the Kingdom of Eswatini, under the wise leadership of His Majesty King Mswati III, has steadfastly affirmed and held on to its cultural identity and core values while operating under a dual legal system, which fosters transparency and effectiveness of traditional structures, as well as effectiveness of the legislative, judicial, and executive arms of government. Along with other African nations, the people of Eswatini believe in mutual respect, honor, dignity, faith, interdependence, family, culture, tradition as core tenets of solidarity. Therefore, Eswatini stands in solidarity with this fourth conference because we understand that attacks on the African family are not abstract debates. They manifest as rising divorce rates, child neglect, the erosion of parental authority, and cultural confusion among our youth. Our role as parliamentarians is not to impose a single model, but to protect the right of African societies to define family in a way that reflects our history, our faith, and our lived realities. That is sovereignty. Sovereignty, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, means the power of the African people to legislate for ourselves without fear or pressure. It means Parliament, not foreign capitals, decide what is best for the African children. Notwithstanding, we note that the call for solidarity does not come without opposition. As we speak, the voice of criticism, slander, and misinformation is loud. It would seem the very idea of Africans choosing to unite to protect their identity and sovereignty is frightening to those who seek to promote the anti-life, anti-family agenda. We have been accused of working against development. To this, we invite the dissenting voices to review in detail the language of the African Charter to identify the substantive issues in this document instead of making unsubstantiated claims. Honorable delegates, we find ourselves to be gatekeepers for our nations at a time when the world is highly influenced by progressive woke ideology driven by nefarious entities. Anchored in secular humanism, these dangerous progressive ideologies are influencing global politics and polluting the hearts and minds of African children and youth. Honorable parliamentarians, the family is Africa's first parliament, as the Deputy Speaker rightly said. It is where values are debated, character is shaped, and responsibility is developed. Long before constitutions were written, our grandparents governed homes with Ubuntu, meaning I am because we are, expressing respect for elders, communal care and dignity. The family remains the basic unit of sovereignty. When the family is strong, the nation is stable. When the family is weakened, society bears the cost. In asserting the position of a family in raising a child, I will refer to the principle of subsidiarity, which was coined by an 18th century philosopher, Thomas Aquinas. According to this principle, decisions, authority, and problem solving should be handled at the most local level possible. The central authority should only perform tasks that cannot be effectively completed at a more local and intermediate level. This means that decision-making about a child is best left to the family, and it should be escalated if and only if the local hierarchies, that is, immediate family, extended family, community, church, are unable to manage. This is how societies and civilizations have been developed over the centuries, and they shall continue to flourish if we uphold the values of family. It is therefore encouraging to note that the African Charter is a positive and commendable mechanism to promote respect, protection, and strengthening of the African family. It is a document of self-determination. It reflects our common cause, shared interest, and sense of responsibility to protect our heritage, our sovereignty, our common values, morals, and religious freedoms at a time when they are most at risk of attack. It is my prayer that we will expand the vision of the African Charter to usher in a continental decade of protection and strengthening of the family, African values, and sovereignty. In fact, I propose a millennium marked by concrete continental, regional, and national level legislative and policy infrastructure to protect and uphold sovereignty and the dignity of the family. We are here to harmonize our voices, to learn from each other, and to live with draft laws, motions, and policies that we take back to our chambers. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, let this fourth conference be remembered as the moment when African parliaments stopped reacting and started shaping. Let us advance this charter with confidence, not with division, but but with unity. The world is watching to see if Africa can govern its own values. I believe we can. On behalf of the Kingdom of Eswatini, we pledge our full support to this process. We commit to take the outcomes of this conference back home, to engage our communities, to legislate with courage. May the good Lord bless you all, and thank you for your kind attention.
Please, another round of applause. Indeed, values are not imposed, they are inherited, questioned, and then chosen. And that's the sovereignty of the human heart. Thank you once again for those beautiful words. We now head to the Republic of Chad, where we have the First Deputy Speaker, Dr. Hudenga David Ngarimandin, who is the First Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly of Chad, to share a solidarity message with us. Please, a round of applause for Dr. Hudenga David.
Très honorable président de l'Assemblée, président du Parlement du Ghana, honorable président des assemblées parlementaires d'Afrique, mesdames et messieurs les parlementaires, chefs de délégation, messieurs les leaders traditionnels, chers experts du monde interparlementaire, c'est à la fois avec une grande fierté,
is with great pride and also going back to ancestral roots that I take the floor during this fourth Inter-Parliamentary conference to highlight Chad's contribution on a thematic that is really important, namely that on African values and then sovereignty. Before I go on with my speech, kindly permit me to express our entire gratitude to this August Assembly and mainly to the President of the Ghanaian Parliament for really inviting the Parliament of Chad to partake in this conference. And I want to tell the Right Honorable that I extend greetings of the President of the Chad Parliament, who really wanted to be here, but due to other important duties, he is not able to travel to Ghana. I also want to seize the opportunity to say that the Parliament, through my person, wishes to thank the host country, Ghana, namely, for the exceptional quality of their hospitality, and really want to thank the organizing committee for all the amenities they made available for us to have a very pleasant stay. Honorable parliamentarians, we know we have various parliaments come and go, but each parliament has its specificity. And we are not talking about a particular topic. Coming to this fourth conference, I think that this fourth conference will be considered as the most important because it gives us the opportunity to not only strengthen the existing cooperation between our various institutions, but also to share our opinion or perspective on emerging issues such as our values and the sovereignty of our nations. Indeed, Africa values on solidarity, the respect of elders, are very important. The knowledge of all this knowledge can be the basis of our continental sovereignty. By inculcating these values in our governance method, this could be a step forward instead of using the imported or the adopted approaches from outside. African countries should be able to freely define their priorities, protect their resources, and also promote development models that reflect their realities as well as their aspirations. I really want to congratulate everyone on the effort that have been put forth so far and the initiative by this August conference. If the targeted objective through this charter is to protect our familiar system, our cultural identity, and also the sovereignty of our nation, faced with emerging threats, it means that the said charter will raise issues vis-à-vis the rich history of Africa and also certain international engagement or international commitment that we've already signed. However, numerous other voices that have already been heard in order to highlight some of the contradictions of the provisions of this charter regarding existing charters on human rights, thereby threatening this edifice we are trying to put up. So I would say that this threat, these are threats to our values. So we need to find a fine balance between tradition and modernization, and especially with the young African people that are kind of connected. We have an issue on Africa transmission of communication. So the sovereignty itself is faced with certain limitations. It's good for us to make sure that all the fragilities observed at every level, be it the legal, economical, and development aspects. My country, Chad, we have a saying, which is we have a saying about life. And of course, as African people, we are better placed to measure the values of our people. So Chad has been able to fight for its dignity and preserve its sovereignty vis-à-vis all its enemies. And these values are very dear to us and are part of the Constitution, and are also part of the first draft proposed by the head of state. So this is part of initiative whereby Chad put in place a committee in order to reopen its history, in order to really find its true identity. Certain African nations have already done that, but I believe it's good for us to rewrite our own history. As parliamentary, as members of parliament, we need to be courageous in order to preserve our cultural values while adapting to the evolving world through laws that reflect the spirit of our nation. To conclude, ladies and gentlemen, looking at all the people here gathered, I don't doubt that this fourth conference will be a significant point towards
tous les Africains et autour de laquelle
Africans will be recognized and also adopt this charter. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Please, another round of applause for Dr. David Odenga. Thank you very much for those thought-provoking words shared there. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the conference organizers are currently arranging to put up notices on the way to connect to the internet. But if you can't wait, please just listen to this. The one to connect to is AIPC, that is A for Apple, I for ice cream, hope that doesn't get you hungry, P for pineapple, and C for Coke. FS, so abbreviation of family, FS 2026. FS, so it's AIPC FS 2026. And the password is Africa. Africa starts with capital A, Africa family, family to capital F, 2026, and an apostrophe. Africa Family 2026 apostrophe. No, sorry, exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Thank you. So, but they are currently working to put the notices up, but if you just want to connect to the internet, that is how to do that. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we'll pick the last solidarity message, this time from Burundi, where we have Honorable Clotilde Kapimbari, who is the second Deputy Speaker of the Senate in Burundi. Please, a round of applause for her as she takes the podium. This way. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed.
Très honorable Président du Parlement de la République du Ghana, honorable Président des chambres parlementaires, honorables parlementaires, distingués participants, Mesdames et Messieurs, bon après-midi. De prime abord, nous rendons grâce à Dieu qui nous a permis d'arriver ici à Accra, où nous avons été accueillis avec tous les égards. Nous remercions vivement le président du Parlement du Ghana pour son invitation à participer à cette conférence, ainsi que le peuple ghanéen pour son accueil chaleureux et son hospitalité légendaire. Vos Excellences, distingués délégués, permettez-moi de vous transmettre les salutations chaleureuses du très honorable président du Sénat du Burundi, très honorable Gervais Ndirakobucha, qui m'a mandaté pour le représenter à cette conférence. Il formule ses vœux de plein succès pour cette 4e conférence interparlementaire sur les valeurs de la famille et la souveraineté.
President extend his
Les pays
well
africains
wishes
peuvent
for
contribuer
this work you're about to
à
carry.
consolider le consensus parlementaire et à faire
For
progresser la
African countries
charte
to
africaine des valeurs
consolidate parliamentary
familiales et de la souveraineté
consensus
à plusieurs
and also
niveaux,
African values. This should be done at various levels, especially at the institutional level, the diplomatic level,
et socioculturel.
legislative and also social cultural.
Les pays doivent
Under such circumstances,
renforcer
countries
l'appropriation
should
du Parlement
strengthen
international.
parliamentary
Les parlements
ownership,
peuvent organiser des débats
where
parlementaires
Parliament can
réguliers
actually
sur les
have
valeurs
a regular debate
souveraineté
on
culturelle,
family values,
politique sociale,
cultural sovereignty,
harmoniser les lois nationales
political culture and harmonize this with values that are part of the Charter. They should also develop parliamentary diplomacy model to the level of African Union, regional community that we are part of, to defend our cultural approach. We need to improve an inclusive approach in order to have a huge consensus. Our countries should also prioritize dialogue instead of confrontation. We should also put forth the protection of the family, culture, and sovereignty while respecting international commitment in order to find consensual agreement to our problems. We want to say that the parliamentary consensus is only credible when it yields visible results through policies that sustain family social protection, the fight against violence, and also support to the youth. This will enable African countries, and namely Burundi that we here represent, to show that family values are linked to national development and social cohesion. Dear parliamentary colleagues, I cannot end without sharing with you that the main challenge of our dear African continent is to find a fine balance between African sovereignty, international commitment, and also the expectations of external partners. I call on you to make sure that we lead these family values and also sovereignty to safeguard our family. Long live Africa. Thank you for your kind attention.
Let's give the honorable member another round of applause. Most grateful for those thoughtful, thought-provoking words shared with us. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this is Africa. This is Ghana, and this is Accra. And I'm sure that this conference will not be complete, and you all agree with me, if we do not identify ourselves, especially through our music. It is on this note that I crave your indulgence to invite, to allow for a musical interlude as we prepare for the stakes to go higher, as we prepare for the keynote address. Please let us have a musical interlude at this point. It's the talking drums, ladies and gentlemen. Accompanied by dancers doing a dance known as the Bamaya dance. It's a dance that originates from the northern part of Ghana. It is called the Bamaya dance. It was said to have been discovered by a hunter who during his hunt came across dwarfs performing this dance. That was a beautiful performance by the Abibi Gurma from the University of Ghana Performing Arts. Please, a round of applause for the students of the Performing Arts University of Ghana. Dancing Bamaya, as I indicated. It's a dance that is reserved for the gods, they say. It originates from the northern part of Ghana, and it is said that it was discovered by a hunter who went hunting and at night or during the dawn time came across dwarfs. It is for the tales. I don't know how true it is, but returned home with this dance, and it has since been performed at dawn mostly when there are big events held in the north. Another round of applause for the Abibi Gurma of the University of Ghana. Thank you very much for that one. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, once again, my name is Al-Hassan Suhini, and as we prepare to take the keynote address, I, at this point, will want to leave you in the capable hands of my younger brother, Reverend John Ntim Fojo, who is a member of parliament for the Asin South constituency, and also, a very, very vociferous person when it comes to the family values, especially the bill that the Parliament of Ghana has recently considered. Please, a round of applause for my younger brother, Reverend John Ntim Fojo.
Thank you very much, my respected colleague and friend, the Honorable Al-Hassan Suhini, the Member of Parliament for Tamale North and the Deputy Minister for Roads and Highways. The Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament, the Chief of Staff, His Eminence, the Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams, the distinguished Senate Presidents and Speakers of Parliament across the continent, eminent clergy, the honorable members of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen. Still in pursuit of family and sovereignty and values of the African continent, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce a distinguished gentleman who is our keynote speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, the extraordinary leader that I introduce to you, the Right Honorable Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbane, is a seasoned legislator of global renown. He has held various leadership roles at global parliamentary platforms, including currently the chairperson of the Inter-Parliamentary Union, IPU, a 50-member African geopolitical group, and a member of the task force to mediate the Russian-Ukrainian war on behalf of the IPU. He is also a member and leader on many global parliamentary platforms, including the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. Such an incredible man, risen to the global stage and the national front lines of democracy. He came from a humble beginning in Sombo, a beautiful community in the Upper West region of Ghana, and rose into this distinguished stature. Trained as a lawyer from the University of Ghana and the Ghana Law School, and called to the bar in 1982, he has held the position as a member of parliament since the inception of the fourth Republican democracy in this country. So as a matter of fact, since 1993, at the constitution of the first parliament, the Right Honorable Speaker entering parliament, representing proudly the good people of Nadoli Kalio, has remained in this house in 1993 till now and has never turned back. So he has been a member of parliament from the first all the way to the seventh parliament, and now, even in the ninth parliament, as the speaker. But all through the distinguished 33-year-long distinguished service, and still counting, he held at various occasions roles as minority leader, and another time when the tables turned, became the majority leader, in between having served as cabinet minister, minister for water resources, works and housing, himself a distinguished man and successful family man. He became the deputy speaker of parliament in the 7th Parliament between 2017 and 2020. In 2021, the Right Honourable Speaker made history, rare history, becoming the first Speaker of Parliament to be elected from the opposition party. And that distinguished feat, having been remarkably and creditably discharged between 2021 and 2025 January, won a renewed mandate to continue a second term as the Speaker of Parliament in the 9th Parliament. A very rare feat that very few across the world achieve. The Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament is the chairman of the Speakers and Presidents of African Legislatures, COSPAL. He's been instrumental in shaping Ghana's democracy and parliamentary system, and in recognition of this great feat, the University of Professional Studies, Accra, in the year 2017, recognized him and awarded him the honoris causa Doctor of Laws. He is respected across the aisle, respected in this country, is noted to be a man of integrity, a principled man, a man who speaks of various shades of opinions without prejudice to stature, without prejudice to status. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a great man who has dedicated most part of his life in serving his country for the betterment of his people. He is a champion of the proper human sexual rights and family values. He is a champion, continental champion on African sovereignty, values, and family system, and the president of the African Parliamentary Network Against Corruption, APNAC. Ladies and gentlemen, the Right Honourable Speaker is properly married with children. And it's important that I stress that he's properly married, not to another man, and with children. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure at this point. Let us make welcome the keynote speaker, the Right Honourable Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbane.
Please, kindly resume your seats. This is some of the problems that I carry on my head. You know, these young ones, they do everything to reduce my market, so that the beautiful ladies here should not be thinking that there's space. I won't compete with you, don't worry. Let me humbly, at least, plead with all of you to give a very hefty applause to all those who have delivered various messages to you before me, starting from our most revered Archbishop Duncan Williams up to the solidarity messages that have been delivered. Please, let's give them an applause. It's right and proper to acknowledge the presence of all of you here, as have been done, and I accordingly, with humility, adopt all the dignitaries that are present, but with particular emphasis on His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, who is ably represented here by the Chief of Staff. Please, you are most welcome, and we are happy to have you in our midst. It's really through the efforts of His Excellency, his commitment to the goals of this whole initiative that made him to do everything to be present. And that was what occasioned the postponement of the conference in May to early June. The rest, I'm sure my good brother, the Chief of Staff, will fill that in to you. I am only going to affirm what has already been said, but it's important for me to take you a bit back to history. This conference reminds me of the All-African People's Conference in 1958 that took place here in Accra at the community center just opposite the Supreme Court building. And there were dignitaries from all over Africa that came to participate in that conference. And such rich, flourishing, beautiful statements as we've just done were delivered. They were all aimed at getting the whole of Africa from the yoke of colonialism. We can say that with the collective efforts of all of them, Africa is now politically free. We are not under any bondage again politically. And the seed was sown here at the All-African People's Conference. I must say that the representation reflects exactly what took place at that time. And so we have a lot of participants from many countries, more importantly, 20 major countries that are present here. We have as major participants representatives from Burkina Faso. It was then called Upper Volta. From Burundi, from Cameroon, from Chad, from the Democratic Republic of Congo, from Eswatini, which our brothers and sisters from the West could not pronounce, and so they decided Swaziland. They couldn't pronounce Eswatini. Then we have Guinea-Bissau, we have Kenya, we have Liberia, we have Madagascar, Malawi, Morocco, Mozambique, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, South Africa, Tanzania, Uganda, Zambia, Zimbabwe, all are gathered here today. We have many other observers, but we are more adorned here by our spiritual, religious, and traditional leaders. I want to acknowledge the presence of all of you and to, as I said, affirm some of the things that have already been stated and sometimes add another perspectives. But I will recommend this book to all of you. It's available electronically. You read it as a good, solid foundation of what I just mentioned, and that is going to build your faith, to brace yourself up, to fight the battle that we are engaged in, to ensure that true families, the sovereignty and values of Africa are entrenched in our continent. It's written by Dr. Susan Williams, a Nobel Peace winner. After he published this, it's not fiction, it's facts. It's facts about no other continent but Africa, the whole Africa. Don't mind the volume. Immediately you start reading it, you can't stop but completing this book. And I have read it like a student. And so if you get my book here, you see that there are lines, there are commentary, and everything here. Very good, and I recommend it to all of you. Let me now say it is really an honor and a great privilege for me to stand here to be given the opportunity to deliver the keynote address. And I'll do this with a deal of reverence, humility, and honor. And as you've already been warmly welcomed, I want to add my voice to welcome all of you to Accra, a historic sanctuary of Pan-African liberation. And it is indeed a privilege for the opportunity accorded me to deliver the keynote address, because Ghana, particularly Accra, was referred to in those days as the Mecca of Africa. Organizers of the conference could not have settled on a more appropriate venue. After the delegates at the third conference at Uganda overwhelmingly voted for Ghana to host the fourth conference. In fact, my good friend from Kenya recounted how Kenya offered to host it. But all the delegates said, when they heard that Ghana wanted to do so, that no, we want to go to Ghana. And we are happy to have you here, and I assure you, you will not regret taking that decision. Because this is the place that is most appropriate for this conference. Not just because of the historic reminder, but there are so many places of interest which I will urge you not to get yourself cocooned in the conference hall here, but to reach out, even after the conference. I don't encourage you to leave. Stay back and enjoy the Ghana that we have today. So once again, you are most welcome. Let me emphasize this.